Welcome to Naples Garage. The fastest Corvette is also the most expensive Corvette ever. $200,000 for that ZR1.
Yeah, you get 1,000 horsepower. You get mid-engine, exotic-looking stuff.
Top speed 215. Not bad.
Not bad. No Veyron, but not bad.
It's close enough, right?
Interior is a little nicer to the Cadillac Escalade with these modern Chevy offerings, but yes.
Yeah, it's. But there is one that was marked up almost 120% over MSRP.
What does that math mean? So they doubled the price?
That means they added $300,000 for a total of $500,000 for a ZR1 out in California. They kind of traced it back. The dealer doesn't want to admit that it was theirs, and they advertised it for this. So there's a little convoluted story there.
That is horrible, horrible publicity. Because if you're going to mark up a car, well, I guess you have to put it on the sticker. So then someone has to see it and write it down. But man, is that bad press for sure on a dealer marking it up. $300,000?
$300,000.
Is that the biggest markup ever? That's definitely on a Corvette, but is it the biggest markup on a new car ever?
It has to be.
From a dealer.
I can't imagine anything else topping that.
That's, the problem is, this is going to be old news in 3 years. Just like the 2020 Corvette when it came out, people were flipping those for 50 grand over. The Z06 came out, people were flipping those for $100,000 over. Hi, that was me.
Right.
And well, what else? I really didn't make all that much money because I paid a little over MSRP for mine, and then with the auction fees and all that stuff, I didn't make $100. I didn't make $50,000. I didn't make, I don't know. I felt like with the shipping and everything else, I might have made 20 grand or whatever, which still a lot of money, but
I feel like this has been happening more and more, with Broncos when they came out and everything's over MSRP, and it's like a thing. Is this happening more, or do you remember this in the past?
It was a little bit in the past, but not as much. I mean, there's like the Porsche 911R where speculators went crazy when it was like the last GT-based manual transmission, and then people were flipping those for $1 million when they were $200 and something thousand. That changed Porsche, where they just started making manual GT cars again. But yeah, for Chevys, man, and when I was a Chevy salesman, the Z06s, no, it was hard to sell stuff that was expensive back then. And this is a whole different level of money. That's what's just so wild is there's people lining up to pay $200,000 for a Corvette, which it's wild. What
wouldn't be wild then? Like, what car do you think people should get over this $200,000 sticker price?
Well, or $500,000. There's a lot. There's a lot of things, but there's so many choices because you're going to buy a ZR1 Corvette for 200 grand, and in 5 years it's going to be worth 100 grand, probably even low hundreds, 120, 130. People say like the C6 ZR1, which is my favorite generation of ZR1, that those are going to appreciate, but they're already close to what they were new.
Do you know if they commit to a production number for 2025 on the ZR1 yet? Because if they keep them low, then the value could still be there.
And then there's the Zora. Is the ZR1 going to be more desirable as time goes on because it's not a hybrid with all the hybrid gobbledygook that's going to go bad? Or is the Zora going to be it because it's the ultimate, crazy hypercar speed one? I don't know. Personally, I just go back to a Z06 probably. If I were spending the money on mid-engine supercar, I guess for 200 grand I'd get a 458. Any day of the week. Ferrari 458. You get that naturally aspirated. That's what they reverse engineered to basically develop the Corvette. Is that flat plane crank V8 mid-engine naturally aspirated experience that Ferrari got away from. Now they're in hybrids and turbos and V6s and all that stuff. That's the last of a golden era.
See, I thought you were going to throw out like a salvage title, half working Ford GT or something like that.
I mean, a Ford GT would be a great choice, like an 05, 06, but that's
a million miles on it.
Yeah, to find one for 200 grand would be impossible. It'd be $350,000, but that's to get an old school analog experience. A good alternative to that would be an Audi R8, since they don't make them anymore, and they've sort of depreciated a lot, the newest ones. And the manual ones, if you like gated manuals, they are very solid and holding value and going up. That's the thing. You own this car, you're losing half if you're lucky in a few years.
Maybe. We're not 100% sure about that. It's like gambling, which I feel like you guys are gambling with this car, and this is part of the love of cars.
I don't know. I think a 458 would be more fun than this, and you'd have a more exciting driving experience as far as the noise and all that stuff. The maintenance, a lot more, obviously. R8 would be a little better, but still kind of prickly,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
In the Lamborghini world, an Aventador is a little bit more than this,
Right.
which I guess if you don't want to be flashy, well, Corvette, that's the thing, the ZR1's so flashy.
Do you think they keep topping themselves too quickly to lower the value of the kind of the previous kind of hero cars that they put out?
Right, which I would never recommend a McLaren over this because McLarens depreciate and their maintenance is unreal. And that's the problem with McLarens is they incrementally just sort of up themselves little by little by little by little. And there's no winning for very long having the top dog McLaren because there's always the next one around the corner that's just a little bit better. You buy a 458, it's the last of a certain type of car. You buy a gated R8, it's the last of a certain kind. You buy, Ford GT 0506, it's the last.
Sure.
So that makes a lot more sense to me. But like the AMG GT would be a great one. I know it's front engine, but they make, I guess, mid-engine F1 cars like we saw in F1.
We did see the movie right away, which was incredible. Did you love it, or just like, were you in the moment? Is it kind of faded, the love for it?
I mean, it was Top Gun F1. I guess that was the same director or whatever it was.
Right.
Instead of Tom Cruise, it's Brad Pitt, which is another, basically superstar.
Yeah.
But man, I thought nothing would top Top Gun Maverick for me, and that one it might have, yeah.
It was incredible, and I just remember you hearing over your edits over time when you're on the road and kind of off-road car, driving your car. It's hard to make it look dangerous and fast when you're filming, and they were able to achieve that, and the quickness and the speed, like you were actually going 200 miles an hour on these F1 tracks, which was incredible.
Yeah, and I know there's some bad reviews from people.
Well,
there was one, and I read the article, and I was like, this is a girl writing this. As I'm reading through, it was like, this is a girl. Like, okay, of course, because the female race engineer gets in a romance with Brad Pitt.
Right.
And why can't she just be on her own merit and not have to get with a man?
But she didn't get the job because of that. She got the job for that.
That's, we as an audience want to see men and women hook up and get together in movies. Like it's
weird.
Like it's a normal thing for see a romance in a movie, and now like why can't she just be a super butch engineer and not like in these men and keep it professional? It's like,
right. I mean, I understand.
What would you do if Brad Pitt showed up?
I understand what this writer was saying, but she did get there on her own merit, and even said in the movie that she was married and her husband divorced her because she was working all the time.
Right.
And that's a terrible thing. But
most men, if Brad Pitt showed up, they'd be questioning their sexuality. So, come on. Like this is. Anyway, so the complaints were that, and of course, the racing being unrealistic as far as the rules, then the rule breaking and not having penalties.
It seemed a little
all that stuff.
obvious that there should have been
It's
penalties.
a movie, and if you watch F1 races, it can be very boring.
Right.
It can be very, very, and not a lot of passing. So they had to work with what they got, and I feel like, the same with NASCAR, and not knocking F1, NASCAR too. It's go fast, turn left, and to make that exciting for a movie as well. It takes some drama.
Sure. Well, and I loved that they showed up, and the first scene was at the Rolex, which I can't believe you've never been there.
Which was probably the best racing sequence, and the opening was just so strong.
It was incredible. I've been to the Rolex, 6, 7 times with all the fireworks going off, and it's just an experience that you have to go to. I can't believe you haven't been there. But the thing that, and I didn't tell you when we were watching it, but I almost teared up a little bit because I was a WeatherTech girl for a really long time. And I remember when the owner of WeatherTech, David McNeil, announced that they were going to be the title sponsor for the IMSA series, which is what was racing at the Rolex in the movie, and seeing the WeatherTech sign and just the WeatherTech branding all over Brad Pitt sitting there was just an incredible thing to watch. This brand that grew up in America, David started it in his garage and just took off like the full American dream, and it was really cool to see that, and obviously being a WeatherTech girl at the Rolex.
Right, which they don't do WeatherTech girls anymore, which is just a shame, That's another thing that has changed in this society. Like, women hooking up with men in movies, like hot girls at race car tracks, that's not politically correct anymore.
I do understand, because there are women trying to make a name for themselves, and there are stereotypes that you don't want to feed into, because there are some amazing female drivers where come on, every time I'm driving a golf cart or something, people are like, watch out, female driver, ha ha ha. There's still that stereotype that happens, that goes around.
Okay, but this movie, it was made for dudes, mostly, and this one female didn't like parts of it. It was made for dudes. It's a popcorn movie. It was enjoyable, and it's killing it at the box office. And speaking that goes back to the ZR1.
Yeah.
The Porsches in that race, all the GT cars and the Porsches, that seems like a much safer, smarter buy
Right.
than this, personally.
Sure. Well, I think the real question is who's hotter, Brad Pitt or Javier? What's his last name?
Bardem.
Bardem.
The,
Yeah.
the two.
Yeah, the main guys in F1. Who's hotter? Very important
Well, it
question.
was Brad Pitt, obviously.
No, it wasn't. Javier takes him by 1,000,000. Jake, what do you think? He just shrugged. What do you guys think? Thanks so much for watching. You can believe you like Brad Pitt more.
It's Brad Pitt.